limited opportunities, so you have to take advantage of the ones you have as best you can. We didn't do that. We didn't play consistency well enough on the offensive side of the ball and didn't generate enough big plays to give us the scoring opportunities we needed to.
It's time for another edition of Special Edition inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios at the Star in Frisco. Bill Jones along with Nate Newton, Rick Gosselin, and Daryl Johnston as we get you set for the 3:25 kickoff on Sunday afternoon at AT&T Stadium. The Green Bay Packers are in town. Cowboys dealing with adversity for the first time this season after losing to New Orleans a week ago. Got some injury issues as well, especially on the offensive line, Big Nate. Yes, and we'll get into all of that over the course of the next half hour. But let's start off, Daryl, by just getting a quick take from everybody on where this team is after losing to New Orleans.
You think you keep everything in perspective, just like you do after when you win a football game. So, there's going to be some talk from outside, but I think Jason Garrett was exactly right. They were not opportunistic. They didn't have the big play. And when you go on the road into a stadium like New Orleans, it's going to be hard for you to drive down the field, performing and executing every snap. So you need some chunk plays, and they didn't have those.
We need a little more turnovers, maybe 1 or 2 more turnovers, and our offensive line have to get a little more serious. I see things, but they have to work. They didn't take care of that down lineman before they tried to get off to the linebacker, and that allowed their front 4 or 5 to be dominant in the game.
And see, the Rams lost last week, the Cowboys lost last week, the Chiefs should have lost, the Patriots should have lost. Just throw away last week.
It was a strange week in the NFL. Only 3 unbeaten teams coming into week 5 of this season. Now dealing with an injury, Tyron Smith. It looked like it could really be bad at the end of that game. The reports after the MRI are much better, but it looks like he's out this week. Hopefully he gets back next week against the Jets. But dealing with, and then you had Lyle Collins missing practice early in the week with a back issue. First time they've really had to deal with these kind of things on the offensive line.
Yeah, and that's dangerous against Green Bay with the edge rushers they have. That's the strength of that team is Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith coming off the edges. And then also your depth. Cameron Fleming comes up, but your swing guy who's behind Cameron Fleming now. So it's kind of that trickle-down effect with the injury.
And that swing guy you talk about, maybe Connor Williams, moving him out the right tackle, bringing in Su'a-Filo at the left guard and try to keep some continuity in that way. But I tell you, like right here, we're going to have to get a lot of help with Cam Fleming. You know, you look at the film, he's serviceable at that left tackle. He's a better right tackle, so we're going to have to give a little running back help or a little tight end help over there.
Yeah, I watched some of the tape from the Green Bay Eagles game, and Preston Smith gave Jason Peters fits in the pass rush, and that's what you're looking at this week. I agree with Nate. He's going to need some help.
Looks like the Cowboys might get some help at wide receiver after missing a couple of games. Michael Gallup appears to be back for this Packers game. Let's hear from Gallup in the locker room this week.
You know, I didn't get to go to the game last week. I know it was crazy down there too, so I've been itching, just to catch a ball, just to run a route. But it should be fun this week. I always say it's full speed, but we're cutting. So as long as I can cut, I think I should be good. The doc say, my knee's fine, it's good. I can't really do nothing to it. It's just, I got to get it through my head that I can do it. So that's all I need to do. It was Monday. I got to run a couple routes. Out there with the trainers and stuff, and he was like, well, let's just see what you do on Monday or on Wednesday. We'll put you in pads, let you do Indy, get out there, so it felt good.
And credit to Michael Gallup getting back as quickly as possible after that scope job on his knee a couple of weeks ago. We talk about that and much more when Special Edition continues in a moment as we turn our attention to Dak Prescott in this Dallas offense.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Salvation Army, doing the most good. And by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today.
We didn't execute, we didn't establish a line of scrimmage, so got in the film room, see what we need to improve on. Now we just got to go to work this weekend and prepare for Sunday.
Zeke and the Cowboys unable to manage much in the running game against the Saints last week. We'll see what they can do this week as the Green Bay Packers are in town for the 3:25 kickoff on Sunday. Welcome back to Special Edition. Let's kick around this Dallas offense a little bit. What's going on? As we told you earlier, and we heard from Michael Gallup, how much will Michael Gallup mean to this offense? Off to a great start in his second year.
Well, I think the big thing is they got to find out really what their identity is. You know, those first couple of weeks, it sounded like this was shifting to a Dak Prescott-generated offense away from Ezekiel Elliott. But it's kind of a chicken or the egg theory right now. We couldn't get into a rhythm, so we didn't have enough plays. They only had 54 plays, which was a season low. We didn't have enough plays because we couldn't get into rhythm. So they got to figure it out who they are.
I believe that Mike Gallup is that tough guy. I think he's their Michael Irvin early in this season. He'll do those quick slants. He'll get up the seam. He'll take that big hit, and he'll fight for that ball. And we needed a little bit more of that this past game.
Yeah, 2 of the top 4 receptions, the longest receptions of the season, are by Gallup. I mean, he's your Alvin Harper stretch guy. He's going to make Michael Irvin better on the other side. He'll make Amari Cooper better on the other side, just the fact he's back on the field.
And then when you look at this Dallas offense, and if this was a wake-up call of sorts for the Dallas offense, what happened against the Saints? What's your take on what happened last week?
They just didn't play well. They didn't execute. I think Ezekiel is exactly right. They didn't play their style of game. Hopefully they found some things on the film, but I think Nate's right. I think they just got beat up front from time to time, maybe not staying with the down guy long enough before they climbed. But if you're going to be a run-first team, you got to be able to run against everybody. I mean, you've got to be able to come out and establish a line of scrimmage against everybody.
Intensity. When I looked at that game, everybody was playing hard. Everybody was trying to play smart. But intensity, that intensity gets you those turnovers, those loose balls. It gives you that extra oomph, and that's what we didn't have. And securing blocks, making sure we're running crisp routes, and making sure we maintain the ball. You know how Jimmy said, focus on the little things, and the big things will be all right.
Yeah, like Daryl said, I think the identity of this team is Ezekiel Elliott running the football. They've been successful the last couple of years when Elliott is winning rushing titles. They had the ball for 25 minutes against the Saints. You're not going to win games when your offense is on the field for 25 minutes. They're usually at the other side of it. They're usually at 32 or 33 minutes. But when they can't control the football, they're going to have a tough time winning.
And you have a couple of turnovers, and you weren't able to sustain those drives, the Witten fumble, and then as controversial as it was, the Zeke fumble on the 4th and 1 play. But I think you also credit what they're doing on the other side, what the Saints had. They had 4 first-round draft picks playing on their defensive line a week ago, and credit Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's 30 games since they've given up 100-yard rushers. So that's a team that takes pride in their front and shutting down the run. And that secondary, Marshawn Lattimore, he's a good player. When you've got somebody that you can move around and designate him to take away the number 1 receiver on the other side, that's a unique situation.
Malcolm Brown handled our front 3. He handled our front 3. You saw a couple times where he made Zeke just redirect everything he was doing. And so I'm with you guys. The run game is so important.
I think the X factor, when you're playing in a hostile environment and you can't audible and things aren't going well, the X factor is the quarterback's legs. And I want to see Dak be more aggressive running the football when other things aren't working.
All right, what about facing this Packers offense and this Dallas defense? We take a look at that when Special Edition continues in just a moment.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. The Texas Lottery proudly supports Texas education and veterans. Play the Texas Lottery today. This segment is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
It's a team effort. You know, for us, we could have made another turnover. We could have scored points on defense. We want to be elite. And if we're not doing that enough, then we can't consider ourselves an elite defense. Offense is going to take care of their part. We have to do ours.
It is a team game. That was Jalen Smith after the loss to the New Orleans Saints back on Sunday night. Cowboys and Packers this week. Bill Jones with Nate Newton, Rick Gosselin, and Daryl Johnston. And this is Special Edition as we look ahead to the 3:25 kickoff on Sunday. And this Dallas defense, and let's start there with Jalen Smith. And one of the things I like about what I've seen so far this year, in the last couple of games especially, is the way they're using Jalen Smith, and they're getting him in a position where he can rush the passer.
Absolutely, and you can see the athleticism when he's playing his linebacker position. Now you're going to transfer that up to that defensive line and also make him somebody that can rush the passers. So, that's an added advantage and a great opportunity with Robert Quinn and DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, that's pretty stout.
What do you like best about what you're seeing on this Dallas defense right now, Nate?
Well, I like that Leighton Vander Esch last week showed up big, man. But Jalen coming down here, and what they like there is the matchup against maybe a running back or maybe a tight end. With his speed and with his physicalness, they don't feel like nobody can stop him from getting to the quarterback. And he brings enthusiasm. He brings that, and that's a great thing.
And what I like about best, they don't let you in the end zone. 8 quarters, 2 games. They have not allowed an offensive touchdown. You should be 2-0 after the last 2 weeks when you don't allow the team in the end zone. But the one thing they still need, if they want to be elite, takeaways and sacks. Give me some plays. This is a great tackling team, but they need takeaways and sacks. That's what makes you elite.
It comes a point where you have to stop talking and you have to start doing it. And when you tackle, you got to hold the guy up, and the guy's got to rush in there. You got to come with that fit. Yeah. So you got to stop talking it, and you got to start doing it. And once you get 2 or 3, it comes in bunches. Once you get 2 or 3, you can make it happen for every game.
Well, they got one last week. Awuzie got one early in the game, but they weren't able to follow up on it against the Saints. We'll see what he can do and what they can do against Aaron Rodgers, who only threw 2 picks all of last season. We take a look at these Packers when we come back.
This segment was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing.
4th down and 2. Here's one down the sideline. Pass caught by Des Bryant.
After review, it has been determined that the receiver did not maintain.
And Rodgers back and peels out left and throws it down the field, and it's caught at the 34-yard line.
It is good. The Packers are moving on.
We know what's coming, and for us, we got to prepare the right way.
Packers come into Sunday's contest sitting at 3-1. Plenty of rest under their belts, having played on Thursday last week. Green Bay started off 2019 with back-to-back wins over NFC North foes Chicago and Minnesota, followed by a home victory over the Broncos. However, the Packers fell at home last Thursday night to the Eagles 34-27. With a chance to tie late, quarterback Aaron Rodgers threw a costly interception to end his team's chances of winning. And finally, Rodgers' top target, wide receiver Davante Adams, suffered a turf toe injury against the Eagles and it is unlikely to play in Sunday's game against the Cowboys. As we bring you back here to Special Edition, Bill Jones, Nate Newton, Rick Gosselin, Daryl Johnston, and we take a close-up look at this Packers team that, of course, features one Aaron Rodgers. And the question of the day, how can Dallas force someone other than Aaron Rodgers to beat them? I'd say post someone by the team bus and don't let Aaron Rodgers get on that bus.
Exactly. Unfortunately, he touches the ball on every play.
Exactly.
So, you're not going to prevent him. You just got to play better against him. And you can see what happens with those 2 great plays that he's made during the course of this rivalry. The throw on the sideline and the divisional playoff was amazing. But the one thing that this team has done really well is they've started fast. And except you take away that Chicago game, but you go to Minnesota and you go to Denver and you go to Philly last week, this offense will come out and they will roll in the beginning of the game. And now what you've got to be able to do is slow them down, get them off to a slower start, make them start to question this first year in Matt LaFleur's offense.
I just believe this right here. You harass him, you sack him about 7 times. And I'm being honest, sack him about 7 times, keep him backing up, cover your receivers, play in your gaps, just take away the whole. You can't take away the whole field, but control the situation, the down and distance. Control that and be up by 21 points going into the 4th quarter.
Aaron Rodgers has never lost in this building. He's won in the regular season, he's won in the playoffs, and he won a Super Bowl here. He's 6-2 against the Cowboys. He seems to like playing the Cowboys, much like Brett Favre liked playing the Cowboys.
And Aaron Rodgers, he's got the highest passer rating in the history of the National Football League. Even better when he's got 2.5 seconds or more to throw, as Jason Garrett pointed out to me this week. All right, how about this Green Bay defense? And can the Cowboys get back on track on offense against Green Bay this week?
Yeah, if they go back to what their identity is, which is running the ball first to establish everything else. This is a Green Bay defense is giving up over 140 yards per game, rushing 26th in the NFL, and you want to be able to control that. That's what Dallas does best.
I think it starts with the coin toss. If you're fortunate enough to win it, go on offense first, run the ball, score in the red zone, and don't let passing become an issue, and we can make this thing happen.
Yeah, this is a different defense that we've seen from Green Bay in past years. They said this is a problem, we're going to fix it. They spent a lot of money in free agency. They brought in 3 starters, the 2 Smiths at the edge rushers, Agent Amos at safety. They drafted Darnell Savage, 2nd-round pick, put him in the starting lineup. This is a more aggressive defense, and now they're hanging their hat on the pass rush, so the key is going to stop that pass rush.
Spent over $100 million on Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, and lo and behold, Tyron Smith is not playing for the Cowboys this week. So Nate, as far as Cam Fleming is concerned, what do the Cowboys do to help him?
You know, just help him. You know, on obvious passing downs, you have to put a tight end over there, a chip or running back, run somebody across the formation, preferably a wide receiver behind the formation. So that guy have to, Preston have to be accounted for.
All right. We will continue with Special Edition in a moment. We move into 4-down territory as the Cowboys get set to take on the Packers.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, more for your thing, that's our thing. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' films and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Throws to Michael Irvin, caught by Michael Irvin, touchdown Michael Irvin.
You all are tremendous, and I really appreciate some of the things that you guys said to me personally, some of you players did in the ball game. It really means a lot to me.
Blast from the past, 1996 NFC Championship game. Now, we could have gone back into the archives and shown the Ice Bowl or the 1966 NFL Championship game at the Cotton Bowl. We chose the 96 game.
That's right.
That's right, and you like that. Those are pleasant memories, right?
Yeah, I know those guys, man. I mean, personally. You know, I know the other guys too, but I know these guys personally.
All right, we got time to go into 4-down territory with the guys here now as we wrap up Special Edition. It's the Cowboys and the Packers, a 3:25 kickoff, and we already talked about this. First down, Nate Newton.
Yes, sir.
Now the question is, will Cam Fleming be able to hold up for Tyron Smith?
Yes, he will be more than serviceable. He's played in big games before, and this is a big game versus Green Bay. Just take a tight end, set him over there sometime. A running back may chip, or fake a chip, or you run a wide receiver across. Just make that defensive end hesitate, or outside line back and hesitate just for a slight moment.
All right, very good. All right, 2nd down. This one is for Goose. Should Blake Jarwin get more opportunities at tight end?
Without question. I mean, this is a chunk yardage game, and Blake Jarwin is a chunk yardage player. He played less than a third of the snaps last week and yet gave him the biggest play. Jason Witten got, I think, 70% of the snaps, and I get what he means to your huddle, what he means to your team, but you got to win games. It's a chunk yardage game. Jarwin can go down the middle. You got to get him the ball down the middle.
And had the 35-yard catch setting up the touchdown last week against New Orleans. All right, it's 3rd down. It's time for our fullback, Daryl Johnston. How would you grade the Cowboys' first quarter of the season?
I give him a B. A little bit inconsistent in some of the areas during the course of the first month of the season, but I think that's to be expected. I think that's around the league. You've got probably the New England Patriots they're playing the best right now, but that's usually the team that kind of comes out 2-2 as they try to figure out exactly who they are. I think Dallas is in that same position. They're trying to figure out exactly who they are offensively and defensively. And you heard Jalen Smith talk about it. When the offense was struggling against New Orleans, we didn't make a play on the defensive side to be an elite defense to do that. The complementary component isn't quite there yet.
All right, and in our final 45 seconds here, our 4th down question, gut feeling, score prediction, and we already know what Nate's score prediction is, Cowboys by 1, right?
That's right.
All right, there you go. How about Goose?
I got the Cowboys in a bounce-back game, 23-16. Even though Aaron Rodgers has lost a lot of his weapons, he still finds a way.
And that'll be the big thing for me is what do they do offensively, the Green Bay Packers? You know, this is an offense that comes off that Sean McVay. With the injury to Devontae Adams, did they become more of a tight end offense and kind of slide away from the multiple wide receiver and run the ball a little bit more effectively? Aaron Jones is an underrated running back.
All right, Aaron Jones out of UTEP, and the Cowboys with a chance to go to 4-1 on the season. By the way, the Eagles are playing the Jets this week, and that's the Cowboys' next opponent next week. That does it for Special Edition this week. For Daryl Johnston, Rick Gosselin, and Nate Newton, I'm Bill Jones, and we will see you on Special Edition when the Cowboys travel to New York to take on the Jets.